It's everything voice, everything you want to know about voice in 30 minutes. So, guys, we're going to keep this simple. When you get on YouTube and you see this on YouTube, please remember to smash that like button and do the follow. It really helps everybody find Zach out there today. Uh, Before I get into it, like I said, this is a 30-minute episode. We're keeping it short and brief, so we're not going to do the normal introductions. We're going to do a rapid fire Q&A here with Salah Zalatimo. Before I get into Salah, Zach, anything you want to say today?
Let's get into it, man. Let's just, I'm excited here. I'm excited to talk about this. We just had a communities launch recently. We're going to have some questions about that. We had a voice token reset today. And I think everyone's wondering what the future plans are for voice. It's almost a year old already, only a couple more
Yeah.
months.
So Salah, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. Without putting anything out there, we're just going to go jump right into it. And this, as you know, is an EOS kind of based show. So we're going to hit you with a hard question first that the community really wants to know about. What will the relationship be between voice and the EOS blockchain? Can you answer that today?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Zach and Chaney, for having me on. I always enjoy our conversations. You guys are my source of information on on the world of EOS, so I'm very happy to be here. And thank you for dedicating a show to our platform, Voice. Um, Short answer is no, I cannot answer that right now. But but what I can say is that we are, we were born with EOSIO in our DNA, and it's not something that we forget. And our core blockchain is built on EOSIO. And so there will certainly be connectivity because our most loyal fans come from the EOS community, and it's not something that we take lightly and not something that we intend on ever forgetting. And so we are certainly working towards some significant interplay with the community, and I unfortunately have to hold the specifics of that until we have a more formal announcement coming a bit further down the road.
I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and say then, I guess you can't talk about potentially a link between voice accounts and EOS accounts then. So um, I will move on from there. But I appreciate it. So you mentioned EOSIO.
Thank
So from my understanding, and you can maybe clarify here, that the voice blockchain is run by a single EOSIO blockchain. Is that correct?
That is correct. There are more than one blockchain on voice.
Okay.
There is a content blockchain. There's a blockchain that manages our identity, and there are others in. So to answer the question more specifically, it is all EOSIO, but we don't necessarily have everything running on a single blockchain.
Okay.
We have a few different we have a few blockchains with different purposes, and we continue to kind of test and iterate and find the optimal blend of those things. We look at this as this is the skunk works. I mean, we're managing and building our own instance of the voice blockchain because at the pace that we are testing and iterating, it wouldn't really be feasible in a public blockchain with public governance. And so it's something that we're using to develop and mature our ecosystem and our platform. And then once we reach that point, we hope to have a lot of the learnings that we've had in the voice process make their way over to the public domain as well, and kind of open a more clear pathway for connectivity down the road.
Well, that's a good segue then. You mentioned the number of users and growing the chain. How that an outside chain would have trouble doing that potentially. What what is your timeline, and how do you expect to grow voice into millions of users, not only just using blockchain but just in general? What's the path forward, Salah?
Thanks, Cheney. I think my background is in digital media, and there are lots of ways to skin a cat, and my preferred method of doing it is with content. I believe that if you create a really compelling, high quality, and differentiated content experience, then people will come, and they'll come to consume that content because there's never a shortage of new information needed, and there's never a shortage of curiosity in the world. And so the more you are consistently creating high quality content, the more people will start coming to you and start coming back to you. And so we view that as, in traditional marketing terms, that's the top of our funnel. The top of our funnel are casual readers. And then we go to work on trying to convey all the values and benefits of actually joining, becoming a registered user on Voice. Those are things like the ability to be compensated for your efforts in voice tokens, and it's the ability to engage on comments, the ability to help with the self-moderation and the community governance. And so there are, so that's the way we look at this, as more of a traditional media on-ramp, but then a social engagement model.
So you get people in with the content, and then you keep them around with the ability to interact and earn some voice tokens in.
Yeah, I think
Keep
so. I
them
mean,
engaged.
yeah, what really differentiates Voice is the fact that we are so focused on keeping the platform 100% human. And so a lot of the problems that we have today with social media and with just, yeah, social media in the broadest sense is that it is overrun by bots and by fake accounts and by bad actors and bot farms. And so that enables algorithms to be manipulated, and it enables misinformation to proliferate. And it, more broadly, just corrupted that experience and eroded trust. And so we feel very confident that once people see the richness of the engagements and the interactions on Voice as compared to other existing social media, and the sincerity with which people are engaging with each other, and with the earnestness with which they are protecting that environment by helping keep any sort of objectionable or disparaging content kind of on the rails. It's really inspiring, and I think on the day after election day, more than any other day, seeing that sincere engagement in on a digital platform, it actually just warms your heart a little bit and gives you hope.
I got so the future plans, as I understand it, with Voice is right now it's all just end users, and the top voice is another real person end user. But eventually, that top voice spot could potentially be a large company advertising there, like Pepsi or Coca Cola or any company. Um, how are you going to? Do you think it's going to be an issue where, like, kind of like the statistics and analytics are going to be a lot weaker because everyone is human and everyone in the ad industry and digital media industry is so used to these juiced up statistics because of all of the bot farms that kind of manipulate the numbers everywhere else on the internet?
It's an excellent question, Zach. Very, very insightful. You're really putting your finger on something. Um, I can elaborate on that a little bit and to say, if you are familiar with the way that the digital advertising ecosystem is today, there's debatably between 50 to 80% of dollars spent by advertisers that actually make it to the intended audiences. It's known as the ad tax, and that's because there are a variety of middlemen along the way. And I use that in air quotes, middlemen, like different services you have to go through, which makes accountability next to impossible. And the fact that, I mean, Facebook in the last 2.5 years, Facebook has removed from its platform 10 billion fake accounts. Billion. That's more than there are people on Earth. So you wonder who's looking at the ads on Facebook and what an advertiser is actually paying for. And so without a doubt, our numbers are going to be far smaller, but our engagement and the impact of reaching somebody on Voice will be far higher, because now instead of reaching 10 fake accounts to get one person, you're just going to get that person. And so the impact will be, so you'll have, it'll be offsetting, and the sincerity and the authenticity of the Voice community will also create a better brand association for companies as well. The Stop Hate for Profit campaign does not seem to be going away, because companies are beginning to use their advertising dollars to demand more from these social platforms. And so with us coming out of the gate with a much more sincere and aligned point of view and business model, meaning we are not out there exploiting our users. We're not out there to try to turn our users into products. And so that by default, I think, sets us on a different path altogether than the existing media companies.
So you did a good job there saying, why people are going to stay and why there's value and why they engage and why it's good for advertisers. But, one of the things that Brendan mentioned years ago, back in June of 2019, when he was talking about voice and announcing voice, was that there would be hundreds of millions of dollars of budget to bring on influencers to get people to see and find out about voice. So one, do you think that we still will be able to see that sort of money spent on influencers? And because we know that only $150 million was invested into voice from B1. And then the second question I would have for you is, when will we be ready to spend that sort of money, if that's still the case?
That is definitely still the case. This game will be played and won on the marketing field, and that is because we got to break through the noise. We have to be able to become a recognized name. We have to make sure that people who share our mission in taking social back from big tech and building a social media platform as it was always meant to be. And so the way to doing that is in this day and age is really through partnering with like-minded people, aka influencers in this case. So we actually have a pretty bold marketing um, manifesto and strategy that we'll be sharing publicly pretty soon. That
Great.
that commits to us not using many of the practices that we are critical of in our marketing efforts. So, simple example, does it really make sense for us to be doing paid social when actually paid social to me is at the heart of what has corrupted social media? I don't believe so, nor does our marketing team. And so we won't be doing that. And so when you come back to our core principles, our number one principle of all is being 100% human, building a platform that puts humans first. So to me, that means instead of paying the Twitters and the Facebooks of the world, let's go to the influencers that they are currently exploiting on their platforms who are not earning their fair share, and let's work with them directly so that we have a more direct impact and they receive a more fair share of the value they're generating.
Great.
Do we expect the influencers to be onboarded? I'm gonna pull up. I put up for a second the quotes from Telegram from after B1 June, and Brendan Bloomer quoted a budget, an ad budget in the hundreds of millions of dollars to onboard influencers. He called out direct engagement with CAA. I forget it's like an influencer like organization with like Hollywood. Um, do we expect these influencers to be onboarded and I guess be paid in dollars before the voice token is tradable and has value, or would it likely come after? Because right now we're in this like beta test mode where the token doesn't have value, it's not tradable, it's probably going to reset at least one more time. It already reset today. But if the company has the budget or Block One has the budget to kind of pay out of pocket before the voice token has value, it still could. So I'm just wondering what order we should expect things to happen. Will the voice token have value first, or will the influencers be onboarded first?
Influencers are starting next month, so we are. It's certainly, you know, the tokens having value and our growth are separate paths. There's no dependencies there, for the simple reason that we are building our community and our audience, because we know that the tokens are inevitable, and there's no point in really having valuable tokens until we have product market fit in this, and we feel very confident about the organic engagement and interest in the platform. So, in fact, I would say that it's more important to have the influencers on well before tokens, before the final token reset and before they're valuable. And so, we are beginning to test the waters this year. So, and Chaney, I apologize, I didn't actually directly ask part of your question, which was when. And I can tell you that is early 2021. So early next year, you'll start seeing a significant increase in our marketing and our outreach, both through influencers and other methods as well.
And along those same lines, any ETA on when that you can share about when tokens might have value? Influencers start 2021. You said it would be after the fact. Influencers would come first. Community would come first. People would be on board first. What about the value? Can you share that?
Well, I would share it if I could, and I mean that sincerely, because it's not something that we're doing. It's not something that we put a date on and we're walking towards it. It's actually it's quite the opposite. The token resets allow us to continue to tweak and optimize this whole token economy to make sure that it is generating our intended outcome, which is to incentivize high quality content. So if this token reset gets us there, it might happen. It might happen before the influencers. But if it doesn't, we're going to do another reset and we're going to tweak it again, and we're
We
going
have
to
have
mature
to
it
have a
again.
way to have or extract that value from the voice token if people choose to just sell it to advertisers, or to do it some other way, monetize it in some form or fashion, whether that's to US dollars, to BTC, to another cryptocurrency, or the case may be. We haven't heard any speculation on how that might happen. Can you share that?
Well, your answer is accurate. Your question is accurate in that the whole premise of the platform is to begin to generate rewards for users, and the voice token being at the center of that. So we are working really closely with regulators today to gain approval to be able to enable the transferability of the token, so that it can empower the users to do what they want with it. They can take it off platform, put it in their own wallet. They can exchange it with friends. Those are things that we feel are critical to fully realizing the vision of voice, which is to create a new economy and a new monetization or revenue model for content. And so, but it is important that we work with the regulators to make sure that that we're doing this in a way that is acceptable to them, and that is keeps the everyday users protected. Because once you enter the world of finances, social media. If you thought social media was a challenging regulatory and security environment, imagine combining that with a financial institution. So it's the kind of thing that we view as inevitable, but not something that is worth rushing, because getting it right, it is binary. You either get it right and it's amazing and it's sustainable, or you're off by 0.001%. Eventually, they'll come off, and that's not anything we want to be doing.
You mentioned working closely with regulators. Are you still working closely with B1 and your parent company?
So we remain Block One remains our largest shareholder, and so we still have a very healthy relationship with B1, and I still lean on Dan and Brendan for a lot of my guidance and my advice. They both offer a tremendous amount of experience, and their point of view on the world is just amazing. They have such a breadth of knowledge, and because Voice was really born under their leadership, they're the co-founders of it. It's something that I find myself going back to frequently, and it's been an invaluable resource to me. But on a day-to-day basis, there's not much interaction anymore. There's essentially no operational interaction on a day-to-day basis. We've built up a team of about 80 people now, and we are self-sufficient. We've been pushed out of the nest, and we are flying.
You mentioned they're the largest shareholder, and that leads a question that we were asked earlier today. Is there ever a plan for Voice to go out there and raise more funds? And if so, um, can the community participate in that?
I think the expectation is that we will definitely raise more funds. What we're trying to do here is not small, and it will take a significant amount of money and some time, right? But it's also the kind of initiative where you will know, if we get on the right trajectory and we start growing at the right pace and engagement remains high, it's there's very your risk is mitigated quite a bit. So it feels like less of a gamble than it does when you first come out of the gate. And so that's the way we're looking at this. If we hit certain milestones, which I unfortunately can't share the specifics of, but if we hit certain milestones in the coming 6 to 18 months, we will certainly look to the markets to raise funds. And unfortunately, I can't really make any commitments either way, or take a position either way as to how we would do that. But we certainly will be looking to do that, because it will take more than the initial capital that we raised.
Sure. So congratulations to the communities, everybody out there. Please join the Crypto Writer community while you're here. Uh, it's working well. I think people are enjoying them. The feed is now there. People can follow their own feed. So if
I
they
was
don't want
very
to,
happy to see that feature.
yeah.
Continue. I have something to say. Just
No,
continue.
it was good to have the feed there. We saw some changes into the tokenomics today, where instead of going from 0 to 1 to 1.3, it was from 0 directly to 10. So there's some increase there in the tokenomics and some other changes that look really good. But the biggest question I've seen since that time is, when can people open up their own communities, and can and
Mhm.
how will that happen in the future?
I'm quite excited about that one. So I will say this because we're still in the we're still it's too early for us to know exactly what it's going to look like, but I'll tell you the space that it's going to be in, and it will be very tokenomics driven. So, we look at a post on Voice as it's as a little microcosm of an economy, and so I can elaborate a little bit more on that. The Voice It is people who are effectively curating the post. I mean, that's our equivalent of sharing, but we've gamified it and created a return on that investment, if you will, by making it a single spot that people have to outbid each other for. And so, if you take that mindset and apply it more broadly to the post, you're going to see more changes in those directions as we evolve. So, commenting, how is that going to change with regards to liking and voicing? Currently, they are displayed in chronological order. Maybe that can be up for discussion or some exploration. Voicing comments. What would that look like, and what does that mean? And likes being staking a post instead of a free like. There's a lot of things that we are looking at from a tokenomics standpoint that are deeply, deeply interesting, and um, and can really send you down rabbit holes. I mean, I've lost many nights sleep trying to figure out, trying to map out the math in my head. If you've seen the Queen's Gambit lately on
Mhm.
Netflix, I kind of feel like the young
You're
lady
the
playing
chessboard.
playing chess in the ceiling, where I'm seeing tokenomics flying around. But it is like that. And so I'm very, very excited about that. And similar with communities, we look at communities as effectively businesses. Like, this is us, the opportunity to create their own community, which actually they can operate like a small business. And so, thinking about the value of a name, we're going to have unique names for communities. So it kind of is akin to the a domain registrar. So names might have token value at some point. How do you earn a portion of the general earnings of that community? How do you deal with content moderation within your community? You might want to have different rules than the global rules. And so there's still quite a bit to be figured out there. And we're trying to take it one step at a time. With the feature set that we have, we've got a few more releases that we think will get those features to a bit more of a mature space, and then we want to kind of see how we can make that fit and mature it a little bit before we take another push forward. And so it is important that we always pause and make sure that we're heading down the right direction, that it's really resonating, and that we're not missing anything before going too far down any given path. And so, on the communities front, you won't be able to create your own communities until the first quarter of next year. But when you do, it's going to be pretty cool.
Great.
Um,
Yeah, if you can get those tokenomics right, and really drive engagement, it'll really help the
as
platform.
I'm super excited about all of the blockchain stuff, all of the token economics stuff, but set the blockchain aside for a second. And one of the things that stands out to me as personally as a voice user is the lack of common features that are available on almost any other social media platform. Because we all want voice to be successful, but to be successful, being on a blockchain is not enough. Having token incentives is not enough. It has to be better than what people are currently used to, and certain things are lacking. And I'm wondering if you could provide a timeline on it. Things like when I make a post on Twitter, I can click and see the analytics. I see how many engagements I had, how many impressions I have, things like that. So not being able to measure success is kind of a deal breaker for me because I don't know if what I'm doing is working or not. When can we expect to see better analytics on how our content is performing?
It's an excellent question. I just actually got out of a call about that on Monday. And the short answer is first quarter next year. So we look at that as we're referring to it as your token as your tokenomics dashboard, which essentially is really just about allowing people to see in a more granular sense what they've earned and how they earned it. And so we joke about this a little bit, but the challenge we have in front of us is making the tokenomics complex enough to achieve its goal, meaning keeping all the different stakeholders aligned and incentivized to create high quality content without any real gaping holes or loopholes. So make it sufficiently complex, but make it sufficiently simple for people to understand. So we've got this awkward balance that we're trying to strike between making it easy to explain and easy to understand, and complex enough to actually achieve its goals. So it's something that is definitely a gap right now, and we have an excellent team of product managers and engineers who are very focused on this. And so what you're likely to see, Zach, is it come out in pieces, like adding a little bit more granularity around the tokens you earn. Because I mean, right now the most obvious question we get is, well, there's 10,000 tokens in the Voice It game. I wrote this post, but I only got 4,000 tokens back from it. What's the deal? And so, as you can see here, it's a good example of how do you have something be complex but also be simple so you can explain it. So the reason for it is because we need to have a portion of the tokens go to the author who created it. A portion is shared by all of the curators who helped that author's content become discoverable. And then a portion of it is distributed back to the whole platform in the form of burn. And each of those cuts is important for a different reason. So, I can explain it to you as you're someone who's more familiar with crypto and just in general how this type of thing might work. But the average content creator just wants to know why these numbers are different.
So I think the most important statistics are how many views did my article get? How many clicks did it? If I had posted links in it, how many of those links got clicked? And just simple stuff like that. Token economics aside, I just kind of want to know how many page views I got, for example, like something simple
Oh,
like that.
oh, gotcha. Yes, sorry. So when I was saying you're going to see things coming out in piecemeal, those things are easy for us to put out, and will be coming in the coming weeks or months.
Great. And the ability to edit posts and change our profile names and a few other things too, I assume.
Yeah, the edit posts may actually have released last week,
Oh,
but if
did it?
not,
Surprise,
yeah,
surprise.
I need
yeah.
to go out and
If
What
try
if
that.
about
not, it'll be next
Soon,
week.
soon, right?
Change next week if anything, and that if it's not already out. And also the change profile name is something that's coming in either next week or the week after that.
Will
what
will
about
categories be?
search?
Oh,
Sorry,
go ahead.
search.
Search.
I can't find old posts that if I didn't bookmark them. I can't search by keywords or hashtags even.
Yeah.
That's another feature that's just like so common on like normal platforms outside of voice, and it's something that I feel like is lacking. And like blockchain aside, token economics aside, when can we expect to see a basic feature like search by keyword?
Yeah, it's a great question, Zach. And I hate to say this, but um, it is because of the blockchain. So I know you want to put the blockchain aside, but actually, our content living on a blockchain means that a lot of the off-the-shelf search tools just don't apply. So you can't just drop in a simple Elasticsearch instance, or even a local Google search you couldn't do, because of the way the content is actually organized. So we the theme that you're putting your finger on is actually our biggest challenge as a company, and unfortunately, I can't answer them without referring back to the blockchain, because the reason why basic things are hard on voice is because of the blockchain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to do things in a more deterministic, and a more secure, and a more transparent way by using the blockchain. And that comes at the cost of not being able to use a lot of industry conventions and a lot of things that are just generally taken for granted, by our competitors who are not on the blockchain. So it is, in that respect, building on the blockchain will take us longer to get out of the gate, as you can see, but it sets us on a totally different trajectory, where I think the benefits of it will make other platforms obsolete.
So Salah, I know you're coming up on a hard stop here and got to go. I'll let Zach answer his one question, and then we've got one more question from a guest that voiced the post that we're going to ask you, and then we'll let you graciously exit here. We appreciate your time, Zach.
Thank you very much.
We've talked about communities because of the voice communities. We talked about the blockchain and like development. One of the things that could accelerate this all is by combining them all, community development. At what point will third parties or independent developers be able to build their own modules or integrate their own algorithm? Maybe we could select different things like that. When is it going to be possible for the developer community to participate in this platform and start building features on top of the features that you guys are already building internally? Or is that a thing?
I mean, it's honestly at this point something that we similarly aspire to and want to get done, but we're just so busy building this, just getting this thing off the ground. Like that to me is kind of like, we'll come back. We'll come back to that when we can. And if I was to like take a guess at it, I mean, probably 2022.
Okay.
Understood. Again, thanks for your time. So I'm going to go back here. The post today was top comment, top voicer was Stephen Joseph Fox. And we said that we'd let them answer or ask you any question they wanted. And the question for you is, who did you vote for? I don't want to get political
Wow.
You're welcome to abstain. You're welcome to say, go out and see this state and leave it at that. But that was his question. So we've done our duty and asked. You want to answer it?
Well, I'll tell you, I am from Pennsylvania. I'm from outside of Scranton, and I'm in a different county than Scranton's in. But I've been in New York for roughly half my life now, and so I personally don't think it appropriate for anyone to share who they voted for. It's quite a private question, but I'll tell you that I have one foot in each of those states, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Hey, again, we appreciate it. I know we're going to get skewered from our audience here about all the things that we didn't have time to ask you about today. So can we at least get a commitment the next 3 to 6 months to have you come back on and talk about the new updates and maybe after some influencers are on board and how the communities are doing, tokenomics, etc.
Oh, I would love that. I'm happy to. And next time we can maybe align it with a new release that we got coming up.
Great.
Great.
Maybe we'll have Rick Whitner or somebody else come on and really delve into the blockchain
Oh, wow.
information too. So he's like,
That'd be
Yeah, we want to
So,
get into the decentralized identity. We want to get in some of this really
Oh,
cool
wow.
stuff we've been excited about. I know Rick, he's part of the voice team. He's on all the digital identity patents that came out in the last year or two. So
Yep.
yeah, definitely want to ask all about that stuff, but I don't think we have the
Beautiful.
time today.
no, anything you want to tell the community now before we let you go, and we're going to sit here and talk amongst ourselves a little bit afterwards.
Well, I just want to say thank you all very much. I mean, Chaney and Zach especially, thank you for having me on. Thank you for being such strong pillars of this community, and just thank you to the community in general for your support, for your passion, and for your patience. I know that you're all very excited about voice, and there's a lot that you love to see from it, and you seem to see the same potential that we all see. But we touched on it a little bit. It's like there's a lot of hard work here, and we are breaking new ground in from a technical standpoint in a lot of fronts. And as you can see, recently we're beginning to more steadily release new features and add enhancements to the platform. And we expect that pace to continue to increase. So stick around, and very excited to see you on the platform soon. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Awesome. We're going to stay on, Chaney.
Yep.
Thank you, Salah.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. All right. So that was a lot. It went fast, man. We knew he was on a tight schedule. He's a busy man. We knew he had 30 minutes. We got an extra, I don't know, he was a little bit late, 5 minutes out of him. But what'd you think?
It was good. We tried to jam pack it in. Yeah, just so the community knows, we had originally expected at least an hour. We had hoped we tried to schedule an hour and a half, guys, because we did have a list of very long and very pointed questions here. So we tried to jam pack as much as we could into a very short amount of time. So hopefully we'll get him back on and be able to dig a little deeper, and or Rick or somebody else in the future. So don't skewer us too much. We had to pack a lot of info into a very short amount of time.
What was were there any big surprises for me? I guess the third party development, I guess it's not a super surprise seeing at like where the status is of the platform. Like they got to build a lot of the foundational stuff themselves before they start allowing third-party
Yeah,
development.
I agree with that. I mean, they don't have the bare bones or the bones quite finalized, and it is interesting to hear that the whole reason behind some of those features not being available today, like the edit, and like
Mhm.
as well as search and other features, are simply because it's blockchain related. But yeah, when they don't have those features there yet, I'm not surprised that they won't let anybody else come in there and play around in their background yet.
I think the reason I thought that it would have been sooner is last year, the day after B1 June, I interviewed Dan and Brendan, and it kind of sounded like things were a lot closer than they probably were at the time. And I remember Dan talking about how you could like embed voice posts in a website, for example. So like with Cryptowriter, how you guys have your page on voice, but your domain, I don't know what your domain's doing right now, if it just forwards to your voice page, but it sounded like there would be ways to kind of embed the data from the blockchain onto your own front end. That way you're kind of outside of the sandbox, but still inside it, still have the comments and stuff that are only real voice users, things like that. But um, there's a lot of things that I'd like to see first before that. I don't think we need third-party integrations yet. I think the influencers, for me, was the biggest surprise of how soon their onboarding strategy is. What do you say, January 2021 for
He said
onboarding?
first quarter, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So early next year, we'll see that. So, a little disappointed, but not surprised that he wouldn't talk about the EOS blockchain. But I think we kind of, based on the way things have gone lately. But I did see someone out there wrote his response down. So let's just unpack it together here real quick and see how it goes. Short answer: I cannot answer that right now, but I will say that we were born with EOSIO in our DNA, and it's not something we forget. And our core blockchain is built on EOSIO, and so there will certainly be some connectivity. Our most loyal fans come from EOS community, and it's not something we take lightly, and it's not something we intend to ever forgetting. We are certainly working towards some significant interplay with the community, and unfortunately, I have to hold the specifics of that until we have a more formal announcement coming a bit further down the road. He then went on to talk a little bit later, talk about the issues of having a financial uh, product with multiple government locations you're dealing with, and having that set up wrong could really screw things up long term. You have to get that exactly right. And so I guess I'm not surprised by any of that. He also wanted to say, if you want to own your own tokens, and you want to be able to move your tokens and transfer your tokens to your friends. So that indicates some sort of public blockchain to me. Whether or not that's the case, but it really seems to me like that would indicate a connection with the EOS blockchain.
Mhm. What I want to see, and we weren't able to get there, and we kind of figured he wouldn't be able to say much about EOS, is we know EOS sentiment sucks right now. We know things could be better from a communication standpoint from Block One, and like we're kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt here. We kind of I personally aired out my grievances last week. I'm not gonna dive into it now, but I think a big shining star with voice would be if it was able to be tracked, its users, unique users, on all of the really popular DApp like listing sites. So Voice's goal is way bigger than crypto. Their goal is like mass adoption, real world users, not crypto people. But as far as the crypto community, it's kind of like EOS is always getting shit on by everybody. And I just feel like it would be a nice big middle finger to everyone if the biggest DApp out of any blockchain anywhere was voice.com, and it was number one on every site, and nobody could say that it's fake bot activity or fake users or anything like that, and just be number one, and by orders
Yeah,
of magnitude more users, tens
people
of
didn't even know
thousands.
they were using it necessarily, even, but they were.
So that's kind of what I want to see. We are joined
Who is
by
that
Eve
bearded
LaRose with
god?
new
Hello.
haircut. What's up, man?
I've been trying to join for like, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And
Yeah, we
it's
weren't letting you in. We
giving
wanted to
me
talk.
no, it's not even on your side. It's on my side for some reason. I'm
So
doing well. How about you guys?
good, good. I'm not used to having to be so short on words. I'm used to these things going for 3 hours.
We had to
like
drive it, man. Drive it home. Now we can go on for 3 hours.
Oh, it was pretty good. You guys jumped into it right away. I liked how you didn't do the formal introductions, which is kind of a waste at
No
this point, I
time.
think, for
No
those
time.
who are watching.
we
And
also
you
didn't
guys got
embarrass
into it like
ourselves with trying to do a Go EOS at the end? Because I know
That's debatable that you didn't
seen this,
embarrass
but-
yourselves. Maybe the Go EOS part, but the embarrassing, ooh, that's debatable.
Yeah, I guess I embarrassed myself enough.
I think I saw somebody, actually, I think it was Bounty Block, by the way, Chaney. I don't know if you read the messages, said,
Hey,
you
know
look
what?
like a telemarketer. I'm not even
Make
sure where that comes from.
The headset.
Oh, there you go.
Were there any surprises for you, Eve?
So there's a couple of things actually that I thought this was a really good interview. He did drop some really good snippets. Some of the things I think that that you were saying while I was joining that you were disappointed in, I wasn't really expecting. So for me, that wasn't so much of a thing. I mean, the question that we keep asking all the time, you know, is voice going to be connected to mainnet? Like at this point, I don't want to say I don't particularly care, but that's not really what I was looking for in this particular interview. So the things that I think were really good, that surprised me in terms of timeline. One is the marketing or manifesto, as he called it, which he said should be released relatively soon. And he even said weeks. So that was pretty good. I like that. The influencers who will come out, and he said before. So he did mention marketing in Q1, or he did actually say, I think, January 2021. But he said even prior to that, you're going to have influencers. And so my understanding is that influencers would likely start next month. I think he mentioned next month. That was pretty cool. And he did specify that the influencers would come prior to the tokenomics, that type of thing. So again, the question, I think maybe I'm not as disappointed. Will those tokens have value, and when will and how will they have value? Somewhat irrelevant at this stage. And I don't think it was a political answer when he said, you know, the tokenomics of things. I myself, I'm creating content, I'm curating content. I use my voice tokens. I ended, I think, with 37 tokens prior to the reset. Like I use my tokens. And definitely I tried to see how the tokenomics work. And I understand how prior to giving them value, you would want to see how the incentives are aligned for the different stakeholders within the ecosystem. So I thought that was really cool that I actually talked about that and said that the data that they're gathering through the token resets and prior to the token resets are influencing how they then change the tokenomics. And he specifically did say that if they get it right, then it might be sooner rather than later. So I'm not particularly disappointed in that. I thought that's actually a really good answer, and it was a real answer.
I want to point out, I'm not disappointed. I'm happy. I value a couple of things. I value progress and I value communication, and we got both of those. A lot of it. So I'm very happy.
No, I'm referencing some of, like, there's comments, there's chat in the groups as well, and then I also came on at a specific time in this show, a very particular time in the discussion. Sure, I thought overall this was really good.
We would love to hear, yes, everything's going to be hashed back to the mainnet, and everybody gets an EOS account. That would have been, that would have been the penultimate answer there. But obviously, we did not expect that at this point.
We'll just speculate that it's going to happen eventually anyway.
Hey, you know what? You've got to have a way to sell your tokens and/or control ownership. So if that's the case, you probably want to be able to move off platform. Just speculation. You're right. But
he did mention rapid iteration, and he did go into detail in terms of why certain features that are common outside of voice are a little bit more difficult to implement in voice. For example, he mentioned Elasticsearch, the search function. That's the first time they actually come out and say that in that level of detail. And I thought that, again, that was a very honest, very direct answer. And this is a challenge. I mean, running diffuse, and I did drop in the chat like, hey, you could use diffuse for this. This is what it's built for.
Yeah, maybe you need to reach out there and make.
Well, Block One does have a partnership with diffuse already, right? So is that maybe in the works? I was kind of hoping you guys would ask that, but you didn't.
Block One is just a shareholder. You remember voices?
Yeah, but you still have a connection built. And so if they're looking at building a search function and they do need an Elasticsearch type function, diffuse is the Elasticsearch of the blockchain.
Maybe
I would have dropped that word in
voice and put a little post out there. Maybe you can mention Rick Whitner in the top of the chat there and get it out there.
Yeah, that's one solution. The other thing is, even though all of the data is stored on a blockchain, you could replicate the blockchain data in a traditional database and use that for search. So there's a lot of ways around it, I guess, that aren't directly touching the blockchain, but I think what they're trying to do is to try to do everything from there. But diffuse is an obvious answer. So I guess
I would, unless they're going to use Google BigQuery.
yeah.
I doubt that they would redo. Like, there's no way that you're catching up to diffuse if you're building your own solution from the ground up. It would be impractical. I don't think you'd be able to do it in any reasonable time frame. By reasonable, it's not happening even in a year or 2 years. So unlikely. So I would think they're going to have to use some type of off the shelf. And so that's why I think diffuse is the obvious answer here.
There's only one Alexander.
It's my speculation. We're running diffuse. I have not been asked to do this. My speculation is that that's what's happening.
It makes sense. I was surprised to not hear it though too. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he didn't know that we would know. I don't know.
Maybe he didn't know if you would know. Maybe if you mentioned diffuse, he would have smirked.
I know.
Anyways, it's all speculation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not used to not being able to keep people on here forever, so I think it threw me off my game.
He wanted a 3-hour meeting.
I did. I love whenever there's no hard stop, but that's what we're doing now.
So just a reminder, I mean, you guys, everybody, your voice tokens have reset. You're back down to 3,000, unless you've already spent them.
I have.
But it was interesting to see that they got rid of several iterations in the voice. Like I said, it used to go from 0 to 1 to 1.3 to 1.7.
I
go straight to 10.
I would have made it go straight to even 100. I mean,
that's your daily allowance. That's your whole daily allowance if you're not actively building, though.
I think it should be more like with eBay auctions. Like, you should be able to set like your max bid, and every time someone outbids you, it just automatically like rebids.
Remember,
things like
we're
that.
starting with 3,000, and that's a month's supply, right? Typically, a user will get 100 per day. A typical user, not
I'm a voice pleb now, man.
Yeah.
Went from whale to pleb.
Yeah, but I'm still thinking like well, in my experience anyways, and obviously it's very different. I always kept roughly between 20 and 40,000 tokens that I had accessible at any given time. So obviously my experience is not
because you promote so much, because you go out there and you write so many articles.
But the 1 to 10 or even the 1 to 100 is pretty much an instant back and forth. It's kind of a waste of time.
For some posts. For your posts, yes. For some hot posts, yes. But there are a lot of people out there that just have a few.
Other big news was crap. I was holding my words for so long. I did this thing where he admitted that they will likely seek out additional funding within what was the time frame he gave? 2 or 3 years, I think.
I don't remember.
I don't think he gave a time, or I don't recall hearing a time frame for the funding aspect of things.
He said it was a longer time frame.
They will need funds. They said they would plan. Yeah, they will need additional funding at some point.
It sounds like it's on their roadmap. Like, they will need more funds because this is a very cash intensive business. It costs a lot of money to make money. Just look at other tech companies like Uber that are just like burning through cash trying to become profitable. So as far as Chaney, you asked if like the community would be able to invest in voice, but in my mind, I'm thinking a large tech company, if they see value in voice, to almost acquire voice. The other thing that stood out to me in regard to these types of questions was he referred to Block One as our largest shareholder, not our only shareholder.
Yeah.
So it leads me to believe that there's likely already smaller players involved that just haven't been made public, and I can't even speculate on who they are because I have no idea.
Well, they could have. I say that they could have retained some equity to resell out in the future as well. Maybe Block One kept 51% and gifted them 49 to reallocate in the future as they sell fit and sell down the road. Some other interesting things was uses for tokenomics. Some of the things that we kind of talked about before, the ability to either upvote comments or maybe tip comments, things of that nature, to actually get some additional tokenomic incentives for doing good comments. I mean, I hate to say it, sometimes the comments, like we've said before, are better than the posts themselves. So why can't I reward somebody that has a really good comment? The ability to utilize the tokens in multiple ways really adds value to the tokens and value to the platform and keep people engaged.
I would love to see more utility with the tokens. So being able, I guess, would you be voicing comments? Because I know if you like a comment, you do get some sort of token reward. I don't know how it works, but
maybe we've talked about before, maybe an upvote. Maybe you pay for upvotes and pay for like a downvote. Maybe
He
you've actually
mentioned a
had to
staking
spend voice.
mechanism for
He mentioned
stuff.
staking. He mentioned the fact that maybe communities have value and voices. I'm sorry, names have value. So that goes back to kind of a bidding mechanism that we've seen before. Maybe community names, like we talked about, you have to bid on them. You actually have to use your voice to buy and own memes. Maybe I want to own the meme community. I want to go out there and get memes. I'm going to spend 100,000 voice tokens so that I can own the meme community. And then at some point, maybe I get a portion of the tokens that that community earns, or some other people joining that community have a subscription fee. Who knows how it goes?
Yeah, I want to see paywalls. I think we've talked about this before, but I think that would be a great utility for a token. Is like if I made a post, if I could, or a community where the cool community was behind a paywall, and all you had to do is like stake or pay a certain amount of voice tokens for like a subscription. I know.
There you go. Interview with Salah, and it's going to cost you 100 voice tokens just to watch it.
Well, I know.
There you
Wow,
go.
he was at Forbes. They integrated something like that. It was a crypto paywall, some Ethereum project where you could paywall Forbes content and pay with crypto to make it go away. So I think that's super valuable tool to monetize content and
Did not
be
know that.
rewarded. And imagine that
He
too,
did
because
also say that as we add features like this, though, it delays the
I
actual
know.
adding value to the token.
I
Because
know.
if you're going to be able to buy token, and confirm this on the last interview, that you'd be able to go elsewhere to buy the tokens, or not on this interview, but another interview. If I'm spending a lot of money to buy these tokens, and then you're changing the game on me a month later or 2 months later, changing the tokenomics significantly,
Mhm.
I might not be as happy. So, I think it's the balance between when do we launch with something that's really good and then we add features down the line, or do we keep experimenting with all these features and delay the launch?
Yeah,
I liked how he
true.
actually said that we could get it right this time, and it's either we get it right or we don't. And it could be that the token gets value. He even mentioned in the example prior to the influencers coming out, which is, let's say, in a month or so.
That is very. I caught that also, but I don't know like what that's kind of like reliant upon, like what needs to happen, or are they waiting for something? It didn't sound like they were waiting on regulators for things. Like usually,
the way I took it was that they're looking at the stats from the tokens. So as we accumulate tokens and the tokens are moved around, they probably analyze all of where the tokens lie and where they are, who has them, how much posts they do, how much interactions they do. And they see, okay, it's too weighed heavily here, or it's not weighed heavily enough here, or these people, we can create profiles with them and they're not being rewarded, they're not being incentivized, so they end up not doing anything. And I guess they're just looking at all of that in the background until they see, oh, this distribution actually looks kind of cool. And everybody, in terms of engagement, he did say the word engagement a lot. The engagement that we're having with these specific users, or the engagement level that we're having with users in general, and how many users that represents compared to how many users on the platform, maybe that's a certain percentage that they're looking for. It did seem to me that they are looking at specific metrics. It wasn't just a dart and they're just guessing at this. They have something that they're looking at.
Yeah, I don't want to drill him about this because it's really not his thing. But I wanted to ask about Dan, how he created his own blog recently, and he's not even cross posting to voice.
Kind of did. Chaney did the sneak attack approach.
I missed it.
Of finding out how that relationship was going.
That was a follow-up question I did want to have time for, if he knew about Dan's blog, and if he felt some criticism was founded there with regards to Dan saying that both Steam and Voice were going slower than he wanted. Well, to hell with it. I mean, EOS is going slower than Dan wanted it to. So Dan's expectations about things sometimes aren't quite what reality is here.
I mean, it makes sense to cross post because there's not a lot of users on Voice still, and not everyone can comment. So, like, if you have a Medium blog or a self-hosted blog,
but Dan's last article was not posted on Voice.
Exactly, and that's where I have a problem. Is like, it's fine, publish it everywhere. You want as many people to see it as possible to get your ideas across to as many people as possible. But man, stick with the grassroots too. You got to cross post everywhere. Like,
Dan, join
easy to do.
the Cryptowriter community on Voice, and we'll gladly let you post all your content directly on there. Come on out, man.
And it won't be censored.
and we will let you, yeah, put whatever you want there. Come on, water's warm. It's voice. We're not gonna hassle you. Yeah, I was disappointed. You know, the whole eat your own dog food and critique other people's timelines. Um,
That's
well,
another podcast. Let's talk
yeah,
something positive. So I don't want to keep this
The
thing going.
manifesto, he mentioned that they're going to specifically say how they're not going to engage and how they're not going to do X, Y, and Z in order to move the roadmap forward. That was pretty cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are the things that our competitors are doing. These are the things that the industry standard, or but at this point, in order to participate in the industry, you do X, Y, and Z.
hmm
We're going to put out a manifesto of not only what we are going to do, but what we essentially pledge not to do, which is
and
cool.
and how that relates even to governance
Yeah.
and the models that you know they deal with, looking at content and how that may be taken care of going forward. We had some governance questions as well, but we didn't get to,
Yeah, I wanted to
unfortunately.
get there too. I'm trying to think of new stuff that came out that like we may have assumed but wasn't confirmed.
Uh,
Multiple
edit
blockchains.
Multi-blockchain application.
multi-blockchain.
Yeah.
Editing posts. So while you guys asked that, I did go and
Yeah.
check. You cannot edit still,
Okay.
which means, hey guys, he kind
Like
of
a week or
dropped a
two.
peanut there, and we're gonna get editing
Coming
posts in the next week
soon.
or so.
That's
and
nice.
and
Very much
changing
needed.
usernames too, I believe, is coming pretty soon too, I think.
And for those listening, I saw a lot of comments. People were still upset that you can't change your profile picture. You can, and you have been able to for almost a month now. So if you don't know
Yeah.
how, it only works on mobile, as far as I know, unless this new update also added it on desktop. But you can on mobile.
Mhm.
So for those who weren't aware, you can try
And
and change
you
your
can
profile
adjust
picture.
your feed now to
Correct.
only people that you follow or communities you follow. So if you want to, you know, find the specific people that you just want to see your content, right now, you can look at your personalized feed and it's there.
Someone,
Great initiative.
someone in the live chat asked how many users are on voice. I know we had kind of a rough estimate at one point. Do you know roughly?
It was 8 to 10,000 at one point, but
The
only
last number I saw was 16K. I'm not sure
okay.
how accurate that was.
And
Somebody
that,
said that. I have no idea. And
yeah, and that doesn't
threw
mean
us.
they're all active, but that's a lot of users, and that's going back to I hope.
Uh, Well, I know there's quite a bit, at least 10,000, because somebody voiced a post of mine 2 weeks ago, and
Uh-huh.
ended up checking how much tokens he had, how many tokens he had. I had like 140K. Like, how the hell do you have 140,000? I checked. He's got like 9,000 followers or something like that.
What?
Or he follows 9,000
Or-
people. There's a guy
no,
out.
no, we had 9,000 or so followers. So it's either a
Really?
bug, and it's telling me how many users are on voice. I should try and go find that user, but
There
he
was a
was
guy
following most.
that tried to
It's
follow every single user on
it's
Voice.
not
I
that
forget
guy.
his name.
It's
Okay.
it's a seems like it's somebody from China. And
Interesting.
his number of followers and his number of people he's following were both in the 4 digits.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
So it's either
Let the rumors swirl. The cartels are coming in. They're taking over voice. Just kidding.
I know there was somebody
That's
that
a lot of.
was actually queried the blockchain somehow and
Hmm.
saw the number of tokens every single user had, and it was a number of users was surprising, and it's been a while, as well as the number of people that are lurkers versus actual posters and commenters, etc. So it was like 20 or 25% of the people were actually posters, and everybody else is just a lurker.
I think it's funny. Like we were asked, or I was asking, like when are the influencers coming? But I've noticed a few times that there's already influencers on Voice. They might not be like A-list celebrities, but it's funny because they might have 100,000 followers on Instagram and be super famous on Instagram, but on Voice,
Nobody
they get
cares.
like two people voicing a post, maybe like a couple likes, and it's just like you would never guess that they're an influencer. And part of it might be because they're posting under their real name instead of like whatever their Instagram handle is. They built up a
Well,
following on Instagram.
no, part of the problem, Zach, is people can't join Voice yet.
Exactly. They can't
So
onboard their own
you know,
communities.
so like a few of these, a few of these communities, right, that are out there now, like Evan Bloss has 100,000 or 600,000 Twitter
Yeah,
followers.
350 or
Wow.
Holly
450.
Holly
Yeah.
Brockwell has, I don't know, 100,000 Twitter followers. But the trouble is, they've got 90 people in their communities because they can't invite their influence or their followers just
There,
yet.
there's some
Um,
challenges with that because I think with the unique identity, now that they kind of don't make KYC mandatory, you'll probably need a KYC to cash out or trade any tokens at some point. But it's kind of, I see it as a way to build a web of trust. So like when I invite my friends, I'm almost validating that I know these people are human and I'm trusting them to join the platform. But if you're a major influencer, I have 1 million followers on Twitter and I post my referral link on there. Just because I want you to join Voice doesn't mean I vouch for everyone who joins under my referral code. But I also think referrals are going to be a great way for influencers to monetize their influence to onboard people onto Voice. So
would be pretty easy. Get 5% of your referral link users for a year or two or for life. Who knows? It would be very very good way to reward people for going out there and sharing the good word about Voice. I'd like to see that even.
They're definitely doing some identity checks because I was asked to change my profile picture.
Well, you look a little weird these days.
Because in my profile picture, I have no beard. And now I have a beard. And the algorithm, or yeah, I don't recall if the 3D picture I took had a beard. And then so my profile picture didn't have a beard. They didn't like it. And so they contacted me and they said, the 3D can't recognize you. And then I said, well, okay, well, I'm a public figure. So clearly you know who I am. I'm talking to somebody on the other end. I would imagine you know who I am. And then the issue became not that the 3D couldn't recognize, but that in my profile pic, I had my hand like this. I think it's the hat picture.
Yeah.
And they said, you need to remove your hand. You need to choose another picture that doesn't have your hand. At this point, I'm clearly talking to a human being who clearly knows who I am because they started referring to me as Eve and no longer just hello. So they are doing some checks. I would imagine that that's part of the issue as well, is just the scaling up of this. If they're still doing manual checks, there's no way you're adding that many people. Plus, if we look back at the tech side of things, when the iPhone 12 pictures leaked, what's his name? Ryan Blass or something like that. He crashed Voice essentially by having too many people try to, and that's when my account I couldn't access my account for a week. So we still definitely have pain points. Like this is still definitely in a beta.
It's beta, and people don't realize that the marketing is not time for marketing yet. I mean,
which is
quite
another
handle the
reason
herd.
why I was so surprised by him saying influencers sooner than I would have personally guessed.
He didn't say influencers with 20 million followers. Like he didn't say, let's say Justin Bieber's coming on next week.
Very true.
That's you're an influencer, Zach. Come on, you're already on the platform.
Microsm of an influencer to a couple hundred people in the world
on Twitter and YouTube. So there you go. It was interesting to hear that the timelines, and I'm happy for him, but I'm still not putting too much weight on some of those. We'll see how it goes. But hey, don't forget, guys. I mentioned it before. Join the Cryptowriter community. We are looking for those people to come out and join us. We have a whopping 337 members right now. Let's see if we can get 350 by the end of the day. That'd be pretty cool.
I'm one of them. I'm a follower, man.
Bring it in.
We got.
But there are some interesting communities out there. Check them out if you haven't done so yet. Some good travel communities.
I don't know. Maybe you guys know. Since I joined since I was put into the Voice community, I can no longer choose when I post what type of post it is.
You're saying categories are gone?
Yeah, I have no longer have categories.
Categories are now gone, I believe. They may make a comeback. I was going to ask that question, but we kind of got sidetracked.
They were kind of limited anyway. I don't think
I like them.
They're useful.
And that's how I found interesting writers. I went and found some categories that I liked, and then I was hoping that when my feed came out, that I'd be able to go and find even more people from specific categories. And I also saw that it was a way to reach out to different people. So obviously, most of my posts will be crypto related. I'm EOS Nation BP, but some of the posts, the way that I wrote them was more business, or it was more wellness, or it was more philosophy.
Got it.
I actually enjoyed, giving a tag, even if it's just one tag. I enjoyed giving one tag to potentially go and get some of those people to read those posts.
Well, there you go. You've given your feedback now.
There you go.
And I would like to say to anybody, maybe Zach, maybe we make a new Voice podcast. Maybe every month or two we have, invite Rick or invite Emily or somebody else on here to talk about communities or talk about the social networks that they're on now. Maybe Bailey or something like that. Maybe we should have a public roundtable where some
Man,
of
look at
these.
you name dropping everyone. You know the whole
No,
team.
that's
Hey,
what I
I'm
was
on.
thinking.
You
It's
know
like
what's
they're all your
interesting?
buddies.
You can go right now on Voice and you can actually look at their profiles. It's pretty neat, guys. You can follow them and see what they had to post. Um, so it'd be kind of cool though. Maybe we have some interviews with them, invite them on, and have a regular, once every month or two, Everything Voice podcast.
Fine by me, man. It would actually be it wouldn't even be the longest running voice podcast because the Bad Crypto guys have been doing it since like
That's
B1
true.
June. They
That's
did the
true. We
first
missed
voice
our
podcast.
calling. We should have just thrown one out there at the very beginning. Damn it.
But they haven't been continuing on the Voice podcast.
No,
So
they've only
you'd
got
still be
4 or
the
5.
longest running one if they're not running anymore. You'd be the only voice running podcast.
Well, that's how we became the longest running EOS podcast because EOS Go
Radio.
and EOS
So
Radio
tough.
was technically first. So we were second, but we were the longest running.
Definitely
We're
the
still
longest.
doing it. Yeah.
Most content.
By hours? By far.
Definitely.
Well, guys, anything else that you want to talk
any
about?
any pep talks about EOS Eve? Anything to get the sentiment turned around? I know we'll have to have a special episode here soon once we have some positive things to discuss.
Well, we shared yesterday
Yeah,
the
BSN.
BSN news,
Oh,
and
that's
Chaney,
huge.
you asked, why is that relevant, or can you give the TLDR? Basically,
Yeah.
it's huge.
It's huge.
And this is something. So when I came on, and
let's step back
earlier
just
in
1 second.
August-
Stop just 1 second. Can we step back for the people here that may not even know what the hell BSN is? So
Sure.
please take it back. I know you're excited. I can tell. People are probably going, what's BSN?
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
So the BSN network is, I should even know what the acronym stands for, but I can't think of it right now. I'll explain what it is, and the acronym is irrelevant. In China, I believe it's maybe a year and a half ago now, there's this entity that got spun up, and it's comprised of 4 different pillars, or four founding members. One of them being China Telecom, which is the largest telecommunications provider in China. And the other one being Red Date Tech, which are taking care of the technical components of this. And then 2 other founders, and I'm not too sure exactly what their roles are. Essentially, these 4 got together and they decided to do some kind of, I guess you would call it a portal, a gateway towards, if you're a developer and you don't necessarily know blockchain, but you've heard of blockchain, but you don't necessarily have the time to do all of the legwork to find out which blockchain I should use, because at this point there's hundreds of thousands of them. Where should I go? Do I need to, where should I get the APIs? Where should I connect to? How do I, basically all the technical background of, I'm a developer and I want to build something and I want to build it on blockchain, but I have no idea. That's where I'm starting. That's all I know. And BSN was set up for that. It's basically a portal that offers you similar way to what, let's say, Amazon does with Hyperledger, and I would imagine what Google might do with EOS. You want to set up a blockchain. Here are the blockchains that we've whitelisted, that we've got the infrastructure set up, and that we can funnel you into, depending on what your particular use case is. And they've got permission blockchains, permissionless blockchains. They've got packages for you don't care on which blockchain. You just want to put your information on a blockchain. Here's an option. Or you do care about the blockchain. Here are the different ones, and here's how you can get it done. And EOS was chosen very, very early on. I think it was the second one. So it was Ethereum and EOS as the blockchains of choice. And they're the predominant ones that are being marketed, essentially. And BSN very much is like this. It's a marketing portal. It's your first entryway gateway into blockchain space.
So it stands for Blockchain-Based Service Network, a standardized internet services provided for decentralized dApp developers, and it will make 24 public chains available in its network for Chinese users, starting in the second half of November.
Thank you.
And EOS would not have been possible without EOS Nation. We talked about Diffuse earlier.
I want to give so EOS was possible without us. Technically, They could have just spun up their own EOS chains. Your own EOS IO iteration. And I think that that's where they were heading. So I don't want to put words in their mouths, but the idea was that you could just spin up EOS IO iterations because it's quite expensive to run on mainnet. And there are different key pieces of this. And they had done a partnership with Diffuse a long time ago. I think it was announced maybe 6 months or so ago. But you were still missing that free offering. If you actually wanted to deploy in mainnet, well, Diffuse wasn't offering mainnet anymore. And so you would either go from nothing to I now need to pay Diffuse, or the reason why we came in and one of the things that we wanted to push was we're going to take care of the free portion of things. As long as you make sure that it's on mainnet and what you're offering is mainnet, we'll make sure that people don't have any costs so that they can deploy. Then if they have a particular need or if they have enterprise grade services that requirements that they have, they'll be able to go to Diffuse. But without that key middle component, mainnet was not necessarily as attractive an offering simply because there are costs. And so we're taking on those costs on behalf of all the application developers. And because we're talking about China and we're talking about really the gateway, and we're talking about China Telecom, which is the largest telecom by far, the idea is volume. So really what this is going to do in an ideal scenario is bring tons and tons and tons of developers on the EOS mainnet now. So no longer EOS IO, the EOS mainnet.
That's huge. And there's some great new developer onboarding materials on training.eos.io from my boy, Peter K. So if someone wants to learn how to get started, it's really easy, whether a public network, private network, hopefully the EOS network. But I'm excited to hear that. So the other, I guess, pressing EOS questions, since it's been a while since we've had you on talking, and since we've even done any episodes. Do you have any updates on any movement with Google since they've announced their block producer candidacy? I heard that like people wanted to vote for them at first, and they're like, hold on, let's start slowly. Are they kind of ramping up anything? What's communication like? Or
yes, so I want to clarify because some people put words in my mouth. I never said that Google told me, please unvote me. That was never a thing that I said. You can't find that anywhere because I never said that. So the discussion that I did have with Google was that they did clarify that they are slowly ramping up. Google is a large organization, and so it takes time. But that they do have a dedicated team. I know that they have at least 3 people full-time that I'm aware of, and I know where they are, and they're globally present, so they're not in the same time zone, so they will have global coverage. And as far as I can tell, they are working towards this. Another caveat that I want to put, which is very important, is that people believe that because Google has infrastructure, all they need to do is click a button and then they're done. That's not how it works. It really doesn't work that way. You do need, sure, the infrastructure is obviously useful, but it's not as though you just take the software, double click a button, press enter, and then now you're good. It doesn't work that way. And even if it is that, because it is possible, you can get the scripts and you can do that, still need to know when it doesn't behave as expected. And this is the harder part. What do you do? How do you debug? How do you maintain these nodes open? And it's not just one node. People also think, well, they just need to run their BP. We have at this point, I believe, over 160 different nodes just for mainnet. It's not one click button finish. So it does take a significant amount of time. And even once you've got all your infrastructure set up, which clearly they have the infrastructure availability, but to be able to run it, to maintain it, to know how Node.js works, to know all the particular settings, all the block producers are different, running different configs. I can share with you what my configs are in general, but there's so many different configs that we've changed over time. And then my behavior will be very different than yours. So you're going to have to change your configs anyways. You're going to need to run that in a private network at first. You're going to need to set up all your configs for your particular infrastructure. It takes quite a bit of time. So that's the premise. Now, your question was, have I heard or do I know when they're going to be onboarding? I still don't have a date. They have been in communication, but very, very little. So I'll be upfront. The communication with them has been very limited. Was it perhaps premature for them to come out? This is another question. We still see that their bp.json still needs work. Is that really relevant right now? Not so much if they're not ready anyways. Is there a big conspiracy to keep them out? No, they're not ready. They're clearly not ready. And when they're ready, we particularly, we had voted for them. We thought that they were closer to being deployed than they are. And then we unvoted for them when they told me that they weren't and it would take time.
Cause instability for them to be in. If they were a producing node, it would be risks of instability. Like they
wouldn't be able to produce right now. Let's not kid ourselves. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're Google or whether or not you have access to infrastructure. It's quite complex to run the EOS.io blockchain. It's not something you do overnight. That's not a thing.
Google can't run on EOS. That'd be the great.
They will be top 21 within the next
EOS.
6
Google
months.
can run on EOS.
I'm joking. That'd be the fun. Yeah.
But I know that's what Eve said, that Google can't. No, that's not what I said. It takes time.
Yeah. Don't worry.
And we've offered our help, and I know that other people are helping as well. So it's, the community, as far as I can tell, have been very, welcoming, open arms. Yes, it's been a month or so since the announcement, and it would have been great to have them, a little bit more active since then, but they're not. Is it still great news? Yeah, it's amazing news. It's awesome news. It's really, really good.
Do you know if they have like an interest in doing more than just running a node? Are they going to have a community person just around?
I don't know. I honestly, so your first question of do they have interest in more than running a node? My impression is yes. I can't go any further than that, but my impression is yes. The second question, though, about the community management aspect of things, I really don't know.
I want to point out, I shared this in the Everything EOS Telegram. I've shared it with a bunch of you guys individually. But if you read the article about EOS.io for business, like the press release or whatever was in CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, whatever one, it specifically says, it mentions that Google was announced as a BP recently, but it said the blockchain as a service and this like business arm of Block One's running on AWS. So there's got to be like something more to it. I couldn't get anything out of Bart, but like it's not a pure infrastructure play where Google is just trying to get Block One's business, because the article said AWS has their business right now. So if that's the case, then there's something else there. And I don't know what that is. And I'm not even going to speculate on it, but I do have high hopes for this.
I would say that if people are expecting, like, I know one particular question that was asked because it was the resource model. People were asking, why isn't Google participating in the resource model discussions? If you're participating in the resource model discussions, you're so far deep in EOS, you've spent so much time that you're able to participate in that. Good for you. That's awesome. That's great that you're participating. For somebody new to come in and somehow add something valuable to that and assign a person that'd be working on this and doing back and forth, I'm sorry, but that's unrealistic at this stage.
Months worth of research at least. And
we're really
the history
into this.
Yeah, it'd be very difficult. You'd have to understand all of the shortcomings, all of the different phases and issues,
all the history, how we got here. I mean, I don't know what the number of patches is at this point. So going back to even the infrastructure component of things, we've patched EOS at least 100 times since launch, and every single one is key to why we are here today and how EOS.io behaves, why it does and how it does today. Catching up on that we're talking about a lot of time here.
Only us OGs will ever understand, man. We're going to be telling our grandkids about it. Remember ECAF? Remember when Rex locked up?
Yeah, I remember when Rex, when there was the lockup with Rex. It's been really interesting. On the resource model, another thing you asked if there's anything new. I recorded a show with Greymass last week, a Coffee with Greymass podcast. I believe it should be out this week. I thought it should be out already by now. But if you're interested in the resource model and you want to know a more technical and we did go into the weeds, but also very high level of why we are where we are today, what's going on, what are the issues, where the debates at right now, because it is an important topic. I invite you to check that out when it comes out. Always a good discussion between Aaron and I. And Miles was there as well. He facilitated the discussion. It was really good.
Is he still cooking, being a chef? I think that was the last thing I saw. Was
his passion for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Random question. I don't know the answer either. Don't worry.
Hey, I haven't called out Kevin Rose yet. Hey, Kevin, don't forget, we'll let you come on the show whenever you're ready. I typically
Open
have to do
invite,
that.
buddy.
I typically have to do
Open
that every
invite.
episode to make sure he knows that it still stands.
Definitely an open invite.
Anything else about EOS or even voice? We forgot to mention they're up to 80 people now. I think the last interview I heard 60, so they are growing pretty fast. And I went out on LinkedIn, and they have a whole bunch of new employees there and some interesting job roles as well. So you can check out everybody on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely click through. I want to see if they got any like people with the proper backgrounds. I know you don't have to come from a big tech company to have the right background. You could have the right skill set, but I would like to see like some key hires, like from like Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, like anyone with that kind of pedigree, even like in a VP role or something. I would love to see a product person from like a established big player. It's not necessary, but I would feel good about seeing that, and I think I will if I dig for it.
Yeah, you can go back and look at their work history. It's not quite the same. I think I remember someone went work for Jiffy, before, and a few other people.
I don't think they'll have problem scooping up talent. I mean, they're in Brooklyn, New York City, so the location's not going to really be an issue for onboarding the right
What
people.
else
There's
has
a lot of
happened?
digital media people there.
Reading through some of these comments I hadn't been checking out here lately. Blankos, everybody got their packs. It's coming
November
up 17th,
17th, I think. I
week
don't know,
before
somewhere
Thanksgiving or
yeah.
so. We'll see
The
how big it goes.
elections Associated Press have been, if you go check the account, it's been every 15 minutes. There's this timestamp of the current.
Is there a nice way, an interface for people to see that versus just having to go out
EOS
there?
Amsterdam. I saw it. CC. I don't even know this guy's name.
No.
It's CC the numbers.
Stan?
Everyone knows who he is. He
Yeah.
released something. I saw a blog article or something.
Yeah, but so we've reached out to Stan. I hope Stan is listening. We actually reached out to him because we want to include this in this week's hot sauce. However, my take on it when I read it, it's not a simple thing. It's for developers, and you actually need to go and query the blockchain anyway. So it's not a UI that anybody can look into. So kind of misleading, guys. Amsterdam, your title is pretty misleading. But thank you for that, and we're reaching out to figure out how we can get it so that when we do put it out in the hot sauce this week, people can actually go and query that and see that.
So I haven't checked the news in the last couple hours. We still don't have a idea of who's next president yet.
I think there's 3 or 4 swing states that haven't been finalized yet. Any one of them could make it go one way or the other.
Likely will take a while. Yeah.
So let's see what else is out there. We don't know about the financial product. No news there.
Are you bullish on the financial product?
Who?
Both of you.
Yeah,
I'm bullish on anything that the D1 announces that impacts the EOS blockchain.
Yeah, me too. Bullish on it.
I just like to, know more. That's all.
Me too. I think we didn't get to ask it, but we talked about this in our notes and stuff. How we think that, or we hope that there's an integration with voice, and they use their own like financial product as the fiat on and off ramp type of thing.
Yeah, I kind of asked that question about getting it off. He never quite said how that would work, because it'd have to have some sort of integration if you're actually going to get paid in other forms of currencies. And I still hope that voice is an easy on-ramp once they get their identity solution hammered out and opened up for the masses, and then eventually that becomes an on-ramp for EOS. But not holding my breath anymore.
All right, man. I think we've been going an hour and a half. This is a long one.
I'm
sure you guys are going to be back. We will do an episode that will have a title focused more on EOS, because I don't even know if people are even going to watch this. We had a surprise Eve guest here, so I'll have to rewrite the description, maybe even do a new thumbnail. But I'm sure you guys will be back. We'll do one soon. Maybe, I don't know, around the Blankos. Maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know.
Maybe like early December, I think would be a good time to have a show.
Yeah.
After the holidays.
Yeah, I think so.
Early December is a good time.
Christmas around the corner.
Yeah.
Early
You're
Christmas.
saying that Santa EOS is coming?
I didn't say anything. I said maybe it's worthwhile having a show early in December, which would be at about a month from now.
You're saying we can celebrate Christmas EOS together?
I am Santa Claus.
Hanukkah EOS. I'm not sure what else I can
Interesting.
throw out there. I'm just trying to gauge your reaction here. All right. Well, hey
I'm
guys.
just gonna keep smiling. That way,
so-
there's no difference between smiling and not smiling.
So Zach, and this was an Everything Voice episode, and,
Sure
and
was.
I'm here in an office environment today. A lot of people, I can't go out and do a really large Go EOS. Do we want to end up on the old fist bump Go Voice today? What are we doing here, man? We didn't talk about this. Oh, look at that. There we
I don't
go.
know.
I'm Chaney Moore.
I'm Zack Gall,
I'm Yves Lahose.
and this
Has been Everything Voice.
Everything voice. Go
Go
boys.
Go EOS,
Go Eagles.